Imagine this, a nation on the move. 2 million people walking away from 4 centuries of slavery. The people of Israel had just left Egypt, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and exhilarating hope. They carried unleavened bread on their backs, a symbol of their hasty departure. Freedom, a dream whispered for generations, was finally within their grasp. But this newfound liberty felt fragile, almost too good to be true. And soon, their worst fears would materialize. Their path led them into a seemingly impossible trap. On one side, impassable mountains loomed like silent, unmoving giants. On the other, the vast, deep waters of the Red Sea stretched to the horizon, a formidable barrier. They were cornered as panic began to ripple through the crowd. A cloud of dust appeared in the distance, growing larger and more menacing with each passing moment. It was the unmistakable sign of Pharaoh's army. The king of Egypt had changed his mind. His elite force of 600 war chariots thundered across the desert, determined to drag them back to bondage. The sight broke their spirit. Hope turned to terror, and terror turned to despair. They turned on Moses, their leader, their voices laced with anguish and accusation. Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die here in the wilderness. Their words were a torrent of fear, a desperate cry from a people who saw no way out. They felt utterly abandoned, caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. But in the face of this overwhelming panic, Moses stood firm. His composure was a stark contrast to the chaos around him. He raised his voice, not with anger, but with a divine authority that cut through the noise. "Do not be afraid," he declared. "Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." It was a staggering command. Be still in the face of certain death. He was asking them to replace their fear with faith, to trust in a power greater than Pharaoh's army. As Moses finished speaking, a pillar of cloud, which had been leading them by day, moved from in front of them and stood behind them. It came between the army of Egypt and the camp of Israel. Throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to the Egyptians, but light to the Israelites, so neither side could approach the other. It was a divine curtain, a temporary reprieve, holding back the tide of destruction while a miracle was about to unfold. The people watched, holding their breath, caught in this supernatural standoff. Then God gave Moses a simple yet profound instruction. "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Can you imagine that moment? Moses, a man who once stuttered before Pharaoh, now commanded by the creator of the universe to command the sea itself. He walked to the edge of the churning water, the cries of his people behind him, and the might of Egypt bearing down. He lifted his staff. As Moses stretched his hand out over the sea, a powerful east wind began to howl. It wasn't a normal storm. This wind had a purpose. All through that long night, it blew with relentless force, pushing against the waters of the Red Sea. The people watched in stunned silence as the impossible happened. The water began to recede, pulling back from the shore. But it didn't just recede. It divided. The sea split in two, piling up on either side like massive liquid walls. Where there was once an impassable body of water, a wide path of dry ground now appeared, stretching all the way to the other side. Think of the sheer spectacle. Walls of water, shimmering and alive, held back by an unseen hand. The seabed, a place no human had ever walked, was now their path to freedom. It was a corridor, carved through the heart of the abyss. Hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence, the Israelites began their journey. Men, women, children, and their livestock descended onto the path, walking on dry land with walls of water to their right and to their left. They walked between the deep, a nation marching through a miracle, the salty air thick with awe and wonder. All night long they crossed, a procession of millions moving from bondage to liberty through a parted sea. As the last of the Israelites neared the opposite shore, the Egyptian army, emboldened and arrogant, charged into the same path. Pharaoh and his commanders saw the path not as a miracle for Israel, but as an opportunity for themselves. They plunged their chariots and horses into the seabed, confident in their pursuit, but the ground that had been firm for the Israelites became a muddy trap for the Egyptians. The wheels of their heavy chariots got stuck. Confusion and panic erupted in their ranks. They realized too late. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. A storm broke with all of Israel safely on the other side. The Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Once more, Moses obeyed. He stretched out his hand, and the sea returned to its full depth. The towering walls of water, held back for hours, collapsed with a thunderous roar. The entire Egyptian army, their chariots, their horsemen, the pride of a mighty empire, was swallowed by the waves. The sea closed over them, and not one of them survived. That morning, as the sun rose, the people of Israel stood on the far shore and looked back. They saw the bodies of their former masters washed up on the sand. The army that had terrified them just hours before was utterly destroyed. It was a final, undeniable confirmation of their freedom. On that day, Israel saw the great power the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in his servant Moses. Their fear of Pharaoh was replaced by an awe of God. And on that shore of freedom, a new sound arose, the sound of celebration. Miriam, the prophetess and sister of Moses, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her with tambourines and dancing. They sang a song of victory, a song of praise that echoed across the desert. "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea." It was the first song of a free nation, a testament to a God who makes a way where there is no way, who turns seas into highways and slaves into a chosen people. Their journey was far from over, but they began it with a new song in their hearts and the unforgettable memory of walking through the sea on dry land. Thanks for watching! If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories from history. See you next time!